Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome back to our YouTube channel once again. And it is my hope and prayer that this video is actually going to find you guys in good health. Personally, I am fine. As you can see, Kisumu is also fantastic. It actually rained heavily yesterday. And maybe you could also let me know where you are watching the video from and whether it's also raining there, because maybe it could be the beginning of the El Nino. Ladies and gentlemen, I've always opined on this platform severally that in politics, nothing happens out of mere coincidence, and that everything in politics is normally well planned, well scripted, and executed to achieve a specific political objective. Nothing in politics just happens for the sake of it. Earlier this week, Kimani Ngunjiri, the former Bahati member of parliament, emerged from nowhere and revealed to the country the role Ndindi Nyoro actually played in the choice of Rigathi Gachagua as William Ruto's running mate in 2022.
And that's how watu ya milima walienda na wakaanza kupigia Ruto kura. Kwa hivyo ukweli usemwe, hatuwezi kusema kuna mtu alibeba watu ya Mount Kenya akawapeleka kwa Ruto. No. Mjue hii siasa mpaka dakika ya mwisho, the president himself appointed Rigathi Gachagua. Na mimi nilikuwa frontline karibu ya hiyo vita. Na nasema hivi, rais mwenyewe akijua ukweli na angetaka asikie hii, na Rigiji alikuweko. Ilikuwa ni mimi na Ndindi Nyoro, bibi ya Gachagua na Gachagua na president current now. Tulifanya kesi. Mimi nilikuwa mzee, nilikuwa mtu mzima, mpaka nikalia machozi nikitetea Rigiji na Ndindi Nyoro. We cried. Bibi ya Gachagua alilia, mpaka deputy mwenyewe macho yake iliangazia machozi, kwa sababu tulikuwa na mvutano kubwa sana. Tutafanya nini? Hatukuchukia Kidiki, lakini tuliona kwa mwelekeo wakati huo ndio tuweza kupata kura zote za milima na tuweze kufunga siasa ambayo ya serikali hiyo ilikuweko. Kuingia Mount Kenya tumeiblock.
If you paid very close attention to what Kimani Ngunjiri was trying to say there, it's very clear that there were only three of them. That is Kimani Ngunjiri, who was there in his capacity as the elder. Then there was Ndindi Nyoro. And then there was Rigathi Gachagua. And then later on, they called the wife to Ndindi Nyoro, the wife to Rigathi Gachagua, Dorcas Gachagua, to come and witness. Now, my understanding of Kimani Ngunjiri's statement is that probably William Ruto had an idea of settling on Ndindi Nyoro as his choice for running mate, because there were those talks during the last election that Ruto was going to pick Ndindi Nyoro as his running mate, but because of other factors, he had to settle on Rigathi Gachagua, and that's why Kimani Ngunjiri is saying Ndindi Nyoro cried. It can't be by coincidence. And then yesterday, there was a funeral somewhere in Kiharu. The father to East African Legislative Assembly member Maina Korobia was being laid to rest yesterday. That event was attended by several leaders from Kenya Kwanza, including the Secretary General Cleophas Malala, including Isaac Mwaura, including the governor for Murang'a, Irungu Kangata, including Joe Nyutu and several other leaders from the mountain. But the rallying call during that funeral was one: Ndindi Nyoro's bid for 2032. And then I asked myself one simple question: why would UDA leaders this early in time begin pushing for Ndindi Nyoro's presidential bid in 2032? Because let's face it, in UDA today, we have a party leader who is William Ruto, the president of the Republic of Kenya. Then after that, we have the deputy party leader who is Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua comes from the mountain, which ideally means who this gentleman should be pushing as the presidential candidate in 2032. So in this video, I want us to look at why these members of parliament are actually pushing for Ndindi Nyoro So in this video, I want us to try and figure out why the members of parliament who attended this particular event are actually pushing for Ndindi Nyoro's presidential bid in 2032. But before we get into all those, in case you are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And with the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, allow me to dive in. Now, let us begin. Do you think Rigathi Gachagua was William Ruto's first choice for the running mate? For me, Rigathi Gachagua was not the first choice for William Ruto's running mate. I've always believed that Ruto really wanted Ndindi Nyoro as his running mate. In fact, if you studied William Ruto and Ndindi Nyoro's body language previously, it was clear that the two were very close. You remember the incident where Ndindi Nyoro and Oscar Sudi were already in, was it in Tanzania or Uganda, when Ruto was blocked from leaving the country?
Tuko hapa Kampala. We just arrived a while ago. We were supposed to come here with the deputy president. Unfortunately, when we got to Wilson Airport, a certain circus started, and the immigration officers started telling us that we need clearance. For us as members of parliament, they told us we need clearance from the parliament, where we contacted the House leadership, and they said there has never been such a requirement ever. And therefore, we were allowed to come even after wasting so many hours there, being taken into routes. Unfortunately, we were supposed to come with the deputy president, who never made it to come, because ostensibly, he was not given clearance by I don't know who. We asked the immigration officer from where we should seek his clearance. Unfortunately, he was not sure. He told us that he was called by the Minister for Interior, Fred Matiang'i, not to give clearance to the deputy president.
So it means Ndindi Nyoro played a key role. But for William Ruto to win, strategically, he needed to have someone like Rigathi Gachagua. And that's why he chose on Rigathi Gachagua. And after the last election, for those who follow the politics of this country, you can't tell me that Ndindi Nyoro and Rigathi Gachagua are reading from the same script. The truth of the matter is that William Ruto knew the person he was choosing as his running mate. And therefore, he had to create checks and balances for him. He decided to have Kimani Ichung'wah as the majority leader in the National Assembly, just to checkmate him. He had to pick Ndindi Nyoro, make him the chair of the budget to influence certain decisions in the mountain. And of course, as we speak, Rigathi Gachagua is being tamed by Musalia Mudavadi. Then of late, there is this story of a fallout between William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. And for me, that can explain why certain members of parliament from the mountain are now getting the guts to actually push for the candidature of Ndindi Nyoro and not that of Rigathi Gachagua in 2032. But why would these members of parliament decide to push for Ndindi Nyoro's presidential bid right now? Number one, in my view, if you ask me, is that William Ruto is a schemer. And all these are being schemed by none other than William Samoei Ruto. It is actually William Ruto's strategy to tame Rigathi Gachagua. You know, Rigathi Gachagua is trying to create a name for himself in the mountain. He wants to be the leader of the mountain. And I've told you severally that there is no way William Ruto would allow anybody to emerge in Mount Kenya as a kingpin. No way. William Ruto would not want that. That now if he wants to go to the mountain, he has to beg Rigathi Gachagua. He's not going to allow that. And because Rigathi Gachagua is working towards that, he has to be tamed. Then how do you tame him? You tame Rigathi Gachagua by pushing for someone else as a potential presidential candidate in 2032. Because for them, 2022 is done with. And the 2027 election is also done with the mountain will not produce a presidential candidate. So which means the mountain will only produce a presidential candidate in 2032. And the impression already in the mountain is that Rigathi Gachagua is being finished. So by pushing for the candidature of Ndindi Nyoro, William Ruto is simply taming Rigathi Gachagua. That's number. Number two is also the issue of the Mount Kenya kingpin. Who is Mount Kenya kingpin as we speak? Is that person Uhuru Kenyatta? Is that person Ndindi Nyoro? Is that person Rigathi Gachagua being the senior most, politician from the senior most political leader from the mountain? Or is that person, in your view, Moses Kuria? Because we saw Moses Kuria also doing some of his funny stuff the other day. So the truth is, Rigathi Gachagua wants to be Mount Kenya kingpin and is being told, you might not be the Mount Kenya kingpin. We want this young man called Ndindi Nyoro because he has a future. So for me, that's another message which was being sent by those members of parliament. Because let's face it, there is no way these members of parliament would just go to an event and start pushing for Ndindi Nyoro. No way. They must have agreed that, okay, let's talk. You are going to talk about this. This is what we are going to say. But for Ndindi Nyoro, you don't talk. We just speak generally and go. Number four, I also tend to think that there is serious political realignment that is currently ongoing in Mount Kenya. I think some members of parliament have noticed that William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua are no longer joined at the hip the way they were before. And they are figuring out where should we shelter. And that can explain why when Rigathi Gachagua came to Nyanza, he was accompanied. That explains why when William Ruto came to Nyanza, he was accompanied by several members of parliament from the mountain. When Rigathi Gachagua was in Nandi, he came alone. So it means these guys, they don't want to be in bad books with Ruto by accompanying Rigathi Gachagua. So they opted to join Ruto. And now they again decided to accompany Ndindi Nyoro to that particular event. Number four, in my view, I also tend to think that strategically, several centers of power are being created in the mountain. Because if one center of power is created there, then a very powerful individual is going to come out. Nobody is ready for that, politically speaking. William Ruto is not ready for that, politically speaking. So the number of members of parliament in the mountain, they have to be split. There are some who will join Ndindi Nyoro, some Rigathi Gachagua, some will coalesce around maybe Kimani Ichung'wah, some Moses Kuria, some Professor Kithure Kindiki. That is what Ruto is actually doing. And lastly, I tend to think that a message is also being sent to Rigathi Gachagua that the future of the mountain is not with him. That the future of the mountain is lying on a younger leadership. That's a message that he should take seriously. Because if you look at the age of Ndindi Nyoro compared to the age of Rigiji should be even older than Uhuru Kenyatta. I'm sure about that. Yeah, so I don't know what you think, but that's my take. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.